Sabrina from Simply Actions. So happy to be bringing you step 3 today of my editing workflow. So that we've already gone through the culling, we've gone through the ACR edit, and we've gone through the Photoshop batch editing. Here we are, it's at 10 p.m. and we are now ready to start retouching our session. So this means, extending backgrounds, if any head swaps need to happen, cleaning up skin, any kind of cloning or that sort of thing will have to happen. And unfortunately for this session, I was not able to get as much right in camera as I had hoped for due to a broken backdrop stand. So I had really wrinkly blankets and I just had to do a lot of retouching, which is great for you guys because you get to see a lot of the retouching that you can do in Photoshop and just kind of get an idea of how that's done. But then at the same time, it does make my editing go from just about 2 hours or 2.5 hours is what it could have been to actually 4 hours. So basically it's just, a reminder that you should definitely try and get everything right in camera. It's less work on the back end with the editing, but at least you get to see all the work that I did in this one. So to start off, I've opened up every image that I've already batch edited. So basically it all got saved back into the JPEG folder, so I just went right back into that folder. I selected the entire numbered like all of the images that were numbered, and I went ahead and opened them all. So now this is going to be sped up because it's I think, 3 hours of editing, so I would not want you to have to sit through that. So I'm going to go through this super quickly. So to start off, I preferred Dad's face in another photo, as well as Mom's face, but I preferred the son's face in this one. And just the way that he was positioned in the second photo, it was much easier to fix Dad's face than it would be to fix his, even though I had to fix Dad and Mom's face in order to make this happen. So basically the way you go is you go to the image that you want, you circle it with the lasso tool, and you just do a copy, and then you go to the next image and you go paste, so Control V, Control C, and you just use your move tool to move it around. I would lower the opacity so you can see if you are actually putting it in the right place, and then just using a mask with the black brush, you're able to brush off the excess stuff, and you've got your head swap done. So his toe sticking out, so I cloned that out. I also felt like maybe her dress was just a little bit too high up on her hips. I normally ask moms to sit a certain way, but at the same time, you got to give them a break. They just went through labor, so it was really uncomfortable for her to sit in a way that her dress would not ride up. So I just let her sit the way that was best for her, and I was like, I'll just edit it, fix it in Photoshop. It's not a big deal. So another thing I also realized is that unfortunately the paper that I used is a little bit wrinkled. It's just a whole lot of gong show here, guys. And so the way that I corrected that was just to use a low opacity and choose from the lighter portion of the backdrop, and just with a low opacity brush on a duplicate layer, I painted it around. And the good thing is that because I duplicated the layer, I'm able to mask off where I got it on the dad's arm or on their faces or anything like that might have happened. So I'm just doing final little touch-ups on the background, and then I'm saving that file. I can erase the second one because that was just for the head swaps, so I saved that. So now I'm just going to show you real quick just a little bit of liquefy. It's just in your filter. I always do this with a duplicate layer just so that you can go back and double check and make sure that everything's okay. But yeah, it's like super fast, super easy, lots of cropping, just to help with, you know, making editing go a bit faster. This is how I prefer to do things. So now with, I went to the next one, but then I forgot about how wrinkled my backdrops look. So I decided to try and see if it would look better if I blurred it, but my backdrop doesn't change if I blur. So I'm gonna just have to paint on it and just kind of try and paint those wrinkles away as much as I can. And honestly, it doesn't look bad once it's done, so. And I do like to crop with a 5x7. I've explained this before, but I'll explain it once more. It's just a ratio. It's got nothing to do with, you know, that's all you can print out as a 5x7. It's just a ratio of 5x7. So I find that 5x7 or 11x15 are kind of the easiest to be able to put into different print sizes, and it gives you a little bit more leeway. So this is another bit of a swap, but this time it's a swap with a hand, because Mom had fixed his hand where it was, because he was covering his sister's face with the one that's underneath. I don't know if you saw, but you will probably see once I start switching back and forth. But then his face when he had the hand right was of course not as smiley and pretty wonderful as this one. So we have to do a little hand swap. And this is, you know, something you just need to be ready for with 3-year-olds and siblings, is just to have this kind of retouching ability in your wheelhouse per se. So I'm just cloning off a little bit extra, and there we go. So now his hand's in a good place, and then I can get rid of this image because, as you can see, his face just wasn't doing it. So I went ahead and copied her little, because what happened was that because of his moving, his sister had kind of rolled into his body, but then he really loved it, and so he turned into her and could put his arm around her, but then her headband wasn't working for me. So basically I'm doing the same thing as you would with the head swap. So you just do a lasso around it, and then you do a like Control C. You go to your next image, or the image you want it to be on, Control V, and then I went and did a Control T to make it a transform tool. I right clicked in the box and then I selected warp, and then I was able to kind of warp the flowers to where I wanted it to be. And then I also made sure that I cleaned off the edges just like a regular head swap, and then I also blurred it because her headband's not in focus, so I don't want it, like her flowers, to all of a sudden be in focus. It just wouldn't make sense. So now I'm just going through real quick and cloning the back end where her tie was for the headband, just to clean it up so it's not so distracting. And then I just crop. These ones are much easier, just cropping to make sure that I've got things straight. I like the distressedness of the basket or the bucket, so I wouldn't fix it. And her skin is just flawless. Now, with newborns, sometimes you do need to go through and you need to correct for if their skin's a bit yellow or anything like that. And I would normally use, I would be using Simply Baby for that. But she had just perfect skin, so I really didn't need to. play around with it. Oh, and that trick you just saw there was basically you just take the marquee tool, you select the entire image, you do Control V, or sorry, you do Control C, Control V, and so basically you've got a copied layer on top, and you can go ahead and using the transform tool, change the orientation, and then you can go ahead and just mask off the edges where you can see that the edges are. And that's a really great way of just tilting the baby if you need to. I'm going to show my favorite retouching tips and tricks in another video. This is a way that you can also round out baby's foot because she was sticking it out. You use liquefy and you can kind of hide the fact that the foot was peeking out there. Just cleaning up the bean bag. And as you can see with the wrinkles, it is hard to fix. I did the same thing as what I did with the other backdrop, which was I selected a light color from the blanket, and I went ahead and just painted it on. As you can see, at a 20% opacity. And just, I find it a lot easier to blend colors in if I have the if I'm blending it in with a lighter color. I find that a lot easier to do. But yeah, so basically, unfortunately, because of this retouching, I feel like the background looks a little too fake. And actually, for some of the images, my clients did say it looked a little too smooth. So that was an error that I made on my part, and I don't want you guys to make on yours. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that you might need to, just be more careful about painting the background in, because it can look a bit fake. It can look too smooth. So it might be better for you to clone instead of paint, or if you're going to paint, make sure it's only a little bit. And if you do have to paint a lot like this, I would suggest using a vignette, maybe even some dodge and burn, so that you can create some shadows underneath the baby, so then it's not like the baby's just floating. But then again, this could be a style choice as well, so. As you can see, I was fixing her face there, so I was using Bye-Bye Purple and Bye-Bye Red. I do want to say that if you're going to have to use, like if you find that you're finding skin tone to be red, I would not just remove the red, because sometimes that can make skin look gray. I suggest using the Bye-Bye Purple first, just to see how much of purple you can get out of there, and then go in with red, because the red is going to turn the skin gray, whereas my Bye-Bye Purple kind of turns it in, like warms up the skin as well as removes the purple. So
here we go. 2, 3, 4.
sometimes when you crop, you may find that you've got a little bit of a black corner. All you have to do is use the marquee tool, press delete, make sure it says content aware, and then press enter, and the computer will fill it in for you. So that's always awesome. Okay, so just a real quick recap. Step 1 is culling and your ACR edits in Bridge. Step 2 is batch editing with Photoshop. And step 3 is retouching in Photoshop. And as you saw, I mean, getting it right in camera will dictate how much time you have to spend in your retouching. I mean, I was able to get my step 1 and my step 2 done in an hour and a half. It was honestly the retouching that took the rest of the time. So, I mean, you really can get your stuff done if you get it right in camera and if you use this workflow. And honestly, I can really see you guys having your life back, being able to get behind the camera more, having your freedom, being part of your family more, feeling less stress and less, you know, failure because you're just taking so long. I mean, there's so much that ties up in our editing and how long we take with our editing that I really hope that this workflow will ease that for you guys, because I've felt it before and it's gone now. Now that I'm using this workflow, I feel so much better. I feel a little bit guilty because it's so awesome, but I feel so much better. You feel like you should be working hard as opposed to letting a machine do the work for you, but it's a necessity. This is how you need to run your business. It's an investment of time. So I really hope that you guys are able to use this and implement it into your own workflow in any way that you can. I hope you learned something, and I really hope that you guys had a good time with these videos. If you have any questions, I'll be doing a Q&A party on Friday in the evening at the VIP Lounge. If you're not part of it, there's a link down below for you to join. Other than that, I will be seeing you soon with another editing video. Thanks, guys. Bye.